Hello，你好，Welcome back，欢迎回来to Wisdom Wednesday with Johnny Tiger on December 15, 2021. When I was growing up, I heard a lot of Mandarin, Chinese proverbs, slangs, and sayings and quotes and stuff like that. And while I have, quite frankly, forgotten a lot of those, there is one that for the longest time I knew about it, I heard about it, I even said it a few times, but I didn't realize what it was all about until recently. Funny how sometimes we just take something at face value, someone else say it, our elders say it, our parents say it, our teachers say it, and then we go on saying it, and we may continue to do that, to say that thing for many, many years without even questioning it or to actually sit down and say, hey, what does this actually mean? The phrase I'm talking about and I want to address in this episode is a Mandarin phrase for describing someone who is very evil. When you're describing a person who is very, very bad, very, very evil, uh, perhaps there's no better phrase, no phrase that is more descriptive than the phrase 十恶不赦. 十恶不赦. Let me try that. 十恶不赦. There we go. 十恶不赦. Uh, that's 十, S-H-E, 十, not she, but 十. Keep your tongue slightly away from the roof of your mouth so you make that whistling sound like 十. 十 means number 10, 10, the unit 10. 恶, E-R, 十恶. 恶 means evil, evil deeds, evil person. 十恶不赦, that B-U-S-H-E-R, 不赦, 十恶不赦. 十恶不赦,不赦 means not forgivable, unforgiven, uh, cannot be forgiven. So 十恶不赦 loosely translates to the 10 evil that cannot be forgiven. The 10 evil that cannot be forgiven. So this is a phrase or proverb used to describe a person that is so bad and so evil that you have no other word for it. Yeah, this guy is really 十恶不赦. 十恶不赦 means this guy is a 10 evil that cannot be forgiven. And like I said, I grew up hearing people describe villains and evildoers with this phrase, and I might have used it a few times in my life to describe someone really, really bad. But I never actually sit down and question, like, wait a second, 10 evil that cannot be forgiven. What 10 evil? It's just one person. Is it like saying that he's like one of the 10 most evil people? Or is it like he did one of the 10 most evil things? Or is it that he did 10 very evil things? What is it exactly? Well, it turns out that the 十恶, the 10 evil, is referring to the 10 abominations talked about in Chinese history and Chinese culture. What are the 10 abominations? What are they about? Are they 10 people? Are they 10 creatures, 10 monsters? No. The 10 abominations are the 10 worst crimes a person could commit. Any one of these 10 would be capital punishment, would be death penalty. And not even just death penalty, it would be death in the most horrific way. It would be like chopping off your head. It was ground for a gruesome, gruesome way to die. If you committed even just one of these 10 abominations. The 10 abominations, the 10 crimes, were so severe that they were outside the bound of uh, leniency or mercy by the emperors. Every time there's a new emperor that uh, sit on the throne, every time a new emperor get on the throne, is becomes the emperor, there's usually a grand pardon. So a lot of the evildoers, a lot of the criminals, a lot of the petty crimes get forgiven, get pardoned, or get their sentences reduced. A lot of people on death row, a lot of people that were slated to be executed were pardoned or get their sentencing dropped down to something else when a new emperor, well, ascend to the throne, not if you committed one of the 10 abominations. If you committed one of the 10 abominations, not even the emperor could get you out of it. Not even the emperor could forgive you. These were the 10 crimes that Chinese people, Chinese culture, has viewed that they were so bad. They were not only bad for the society, they were bad for the entire civilization. So this makes it sound like really, really dramatic. Like how bad does it have to be bad for the entire civilization? Well, our view nowadays, obviously, it's going to differ from how people view things back then. But let's go back in time, go back in throughout Chinese history, and look at what are these 10 abominations. Abomination number one, and this is an obvious one, plotting or inciting rebellion against the throne. Plotting or inciting rebellion against the throne. This means you actually put together and lead an army against the emperor. This means you are trying to become emperor yourself. This is number one abomination, cannot be forgiven. If you led an army against your emperor, if you created rebellion, then you better succeed. Otherwise, you are dead. Not only you, for the most of the dynasties, for most emperors, if you dare to lead a rebellion against them, they wouldn't just kill or execute you, they would execute your entire family from the oldest down to the youngest. Just basically wipe your family name from existence. That's how serious this stuff was. Number two, plotting or taking place in treason. Now, some people say, well, wait a second, isn't that the same as the first one? What's the difference? Well, when you lead a rebellion, you actually put together an army and you say, okay, I'm going to overthrow you, I'm going to throw you out of the palace, I'm going to become emperor. That's leading a rebellion. Treason is oftentimes much more subtle and not quite as uh, big a production. Someone who plot treason may be someone who steal money from the emperor, someone who lied to the emperor, someone who uh, plotted and schemed to have the emperor assassinated. So that's treason. Again, this is very serious stuff. If you committed this one, abomination number two, plotting or taking part in treason, most often it's your whole family that's going to get executed as well. Number three, the third abomination, desecrating the royal palace or a royal tomb. Now, this one was very serious as well because Chinese people believe really strongly in fortune, in feng shui. And if you dare to desecrate, to destroy, to damage, to ruin the royal palace, or one of the royal burial ground. That ruins the feng shui. That means you're making sure that the emperor and his descendants will not be able to rule in peace. So this is very closely linked to treason or rebellion. Uh, so if you dare to desecrate, damage, destroy, ruin, deface a royal palace or one of the burial grounds, this was serious stuff. Again, serious enough for your whole family to go down with you. Number four, disrespecting the emperor. And this means if you see the emperor, if you look directly at the emperor, that's death penalty. That's disrespecting the emperor. If you say the emperor's name, it's disrespecting the emperor. If you do not kneel down in front of the emperor, you're disrespecting the emperor. So disrespecting the emperor was abomination number four, because the logic was if you already disrespect the emperor, then you're just that one step away from committing one of the previous three. You're either going to desecrate the emperor's palace or tomb, or you're going to plot treason, or you're going to lead a rebellion. So it's all stemmed from this one. Now, this one, the punishment is usually a little bit more lenient depending on the way you disrespect the emperor. Sometimes uh, it's just you that's going to get executed. Sometimes, depending on, like I said, the way this was brought about, you may end up uh, bringing your whole family down with you as well. Suffice to say, anything to do with the emperor, anything to do with the royalty, if you piss them off, they probably would execute your entire family. Number five, minor treason. Minor treason. What is a minor treason? Minor treason is if you murdered a state official or a politician or one of the people appointed by the emperor to rule your province or your state or your city. Uh, the reasoning here is, well, obviously, if you're already going to murder your superior, you're going to murder someone who's a leader, then how long before you get to murdering the emperor? If you don't even respect the people appointed by the emperor, then you're probably not far off from disrespecting the emperor himself. So, number five, minor treason, murdering a state official appointed by the emperor. So, as we can see, the first five, the big five, we can say, it's all state related, all country government related, uh, plotting a rebellion, plotting treason, disrespecting the emperor, uh, desecrating the emperor's tomb or the emperor's palace, and murdering a minor official. These are all uh, like state related offenses. Now we're going to look at the last five, which is getting a lot more gritty and personal. Abomination number six, committing incest. Now, this is where things get really interesting because a lot of Chinese people for thousands of years married their sisters, brothers, cousins. So people would be saying, wait a second, they've been doing that for thousands of years, so how can that be one of the 10 abominations? Well, it turns out the Chinese people had a different definition for incest. Incest in Chinese culture, in the case of abomination number six, is very narrowly defined as consorting or having an affair with the wife or concubine of your father, grandfather, or any elder relative. Okay, so that is a lot narrower. That means it's okay if you want to get in bed with your sister. It's okay if you want to get in bed with your brother. But it will be incest and an unforgivable unforgivable uh, abomination if you, well, sleep with your mom, grandma, or auntie, any wife or concubine that previously belonged to an elder, an older relative, or your father or grandfather. Interestingly enough, as disgusting as this sounds, this has actually happened multiple times, and not just among the civilians. This has happened to in the royal family. We don't even have to go that far. If we look at uh, the only female emperor in Chinese history, the Empress Wu Tang, she actually slept with the first emperor of the Tang Dynasty, and then she slept with his son and became the consort of his son as well. So right there, you have the emperor themselves committing one of the uh, worst crimes possible. Uh, so yeah, this is very disturbing, very dark stuff. So abomination number six, incest. But remember, this incest means consorting or having an affair with the wife or concubine of an elder male relative. Number seven, the seventh abomination. If you, and this one is multifaceted, there's multiple parts to this. Uh, Number one, if you murdered more than three innocent people. Now, I don't know who came up with this rule that it have to be more than three. Like if you murder one person, it's okay. It's still forgivable. It's bad, but it's not too bad. You murder two people, yeah, that's kind of crazy, but it's still forgivable. You murder three, oh no, now that's an abomination. I don't know who came up with that rule, but yeah, the seventh abomination, part one, is you murdered more than three, and here is the keyword: innocent people, which means if you kill them in self-defense, if you have just cause, or if you kill them in the line of duty, then it doesn't count. Or part two is you disembowel the corpse after you murdered your victim. Okay, that I mean that pretty much go without explanation. I mean if you kill someone, that's already really bad, but if you disembowel their corpse afterward, then yeah, I can totally understand why people thought that you might be some kind of monster and an abomination that cannot be forgiven. Part three, this one is quite interesting too. Part three of abomination number seven is if you use poison or voodoo or witchcraft to harm somebody. Poison, witchcraft, or voodoo to harm somebody. This includes jinx, curses, and bad omens, and manipulating karma, and anything like that. Abomination number eight: murdering your father, your grandfather, your husband, or any elderly male relative. Murdering your grandfather, your father, or your husband, or any male elder relatives. Now, this one is also interesting because so if you kill your younger brother, apparently it's okay. Well, not okay, but it's not so bad. And if you can murder your children, apparently that's okay. But killing your father, killing your older brother, killing your uncle, killing your grandfather, no, no. Then that's one of the abomination. Killing your husband, no, no. Uh, this was so big an issue throughout Chinese history that there were many, many women that killed their husband in self-defense or killed their husband uh, due to just cause because their husband were abusive and neglectful, or so on and so on. But these women were always put to death in the most horrific way for doing so, because killing your husband is number 8 of the abominations. Number 9, harming one of your elder male relatives, uh, including father, husband, or grandfather. So not just murdering them is an abomination, just harming them is enough to get you put to death in the most horrific ways. Uh, you know, Chinese history, Chinese culture has always been very patriarchal and uh, patriarch, and it's always a very sexist, male-centric society. So that's why these rules were in place. Number 10, disrespecting or mistreating your parents, grandparents, or any older elder in your family. This includes uncle, aunt, older sister, older brother. So that's abomination number 10 is to mistreat or disrespect your elders, including parents, grandparents, siblings. This was very severe as well, even up to uh, just 100 years ago. 100 years ago, during the last dynasty, the Qing dynasty in China, if you have an argument with your older brother, let's say you and your older brother get into an argument at home, and you dare to glare at your older brother, this was enough ground for your older brother to take you to the magistrate or have you arrested by the magistrate and have you put to death in the most horrible way possible because you've just committed abomination number 10. Like I said, a lot of these obviously are different from how we view the world today, uh, but I always believe that by looking at what people thought was important, what people thought was evil, people's uh, values throughout history, it really gives us a closer understanding of the culture, the people, and what was important to them back then. So the 10 abominations, let's do a quick recap because there's been a lot of them. Number 1, plotting rebellion, leading rebellion against your emperor. Number 2, plotting or taking part in treason against your emperor. Number 3, desecrating your emperor's palace or burial ground. Number 4, disrespecting your emperor. Number 5, minor treason, murdering a state official appointed by the emperor. Number 6, incest, having an affair or consorting with a wife or concubine previously belonging to an elder male family member. Number 7, murdering more than 3 innocent victims, or disemboweling a corpse after you murder the victim, or use witchcraft, poison, or voodoo against somebody. Number 8, murdering a father, a grandfather, a husband, or any male elder relative. Number 9, harming said elder male relative. Number 10, disrespecting any elder in your family, including parents, grandparents, and elder siblings. I know that this was a little bit of a more grim episode, but I hope it has been a little bit interesting at the very least. We'll be back again tomorrow. Speaking of elders, we've said this word a lot in this episode. Tomorrow we'll be back with a Toy Thursday that look at another uh, old badass characters. For now, 谢谢 and 晚安 and 再见。